Okay, we are back coming to you live on WFNC 640 AM. We have a great group with us today. We've got Dino, Antonio, and Peter, Councilman Antonio Jones, Dino Hondros, and Peter Pappas, who all made it through the primary into the general election, running for city council positions. Of course, Antonio Jones is an incumbent. He is currently serving in that position. And hopefully we will have all three of you on city council. And that's because we're taking over the world, right? I mean, that's what realtors are all about, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Conquer, and I'm sure Julius Caesar has a great quote about this. Like,
Well,
the game we saw, we conquered all, and that's.
Well, for me and Dino, it would be more Leonidas or Alexander the Great. That's
wrong country. Sorry, that's right. Rome versus Greece. My
folks.
apologies. No disrespect.
We're on the wrong, little peninsula over there. So
yeah. You guys are a little busy with Turkey right now, so we'll just
So realtors, they're perceived. So some things I've heard is, oh, the realtors want to run for office because they want to take over everything. And it's like, we are facilitators of transactions. We will connect you to a buyer or seller to move your asset to attain your goals. We are cheerleaders and champions of what you want to do. And I love to be prolific and have a bunch of signs out there, but that does not mean that I'm staking my claim that I own that property. So I've actually had people say, well, I was going to call a certain commercial realtor, but they own everything. Like, no, we don't.
No, they just have the most relationships.
They just have the most relationships out there. Absolutely.
I have the current treasurer of NC Realtors. Her name is Laura Knudsen. She reminds me every time I hear her speak, or every time that we speak with each other, that we are blessed to be a member of, a participant, a professional in one of the noblest professions out there. And the reason for that is because we are in a profession that does a couple of things. On the residential side of it, we are in a profession that is the only profession out there that actually focuses on helping people attain generational wealth. And that is through real estate. The other way you might be able to do that is through education. But between education and real estate is the hard money one. Education conceptually says if you're educated, you should be able to work and earn money based on education plus experience. But in real estate, once you own it, you can continue to pass it through the generations. Education doesn't pass that way, but real estate does. The other side of that is once you own real estate and you begin to create that generational wealth, you now have a foundation that allows you to consider being an entrepreneur if that's what you want to do. And you've got a foundation equity, you've got assets to potentially build a business on as well. And so Peter, even on your side of it, you're now talking about generational wealth either collapsing or growing exponentially. And you reference that in the first section where you say sometimes you talk people out of what they think their dream is because of your own experiences and the value that you bring to the table, and you can help people understand risk versus reward. And so when you think about what we do as realtors, that's our focus. And are there realtors out there or real estate agents? And the difference is a real estate agent chooses to work in the industry but not abide by a code of ethics. That's their choice. A realtor chooses to work in the industry as a licensee and to abide by a code of ethics. And that code of ethics impacts how each of us deals with each other, how we deal with our client, but also how we deal with the consumer. So I thank all three of you for stepping up to that higher level and saying just having a license is not enough for me. I want to work with ethical people who are in this for the right reason. Are there people running around who are just in it for the commission? Sure, but guess what? They're not in this industry very long.
No, they're not. I think my mom always said you wanted an old lawyer and a young doctor. And I think the realtors, you want an old realtor. You want somebody with some gray in their beard, somebody with experience. Nothing against young guys.
You can cover gray up. If you
want to cover your wisdom, Wendy, then you go right ahead. But I'm going to own mine. But You know, you want experience. You want because that's going to yield. You want that generational wealth. Go to the gray because you have always, and especially in a market like we have now, you have a lot of young ones coming out that they get on these teams, and unfortunately, they're not. We have to push our peers to learn better and be responsible stewards of what they're doing. It's not about the quick buck.
And Peter, it's not about, we're not saying don't work with inexperienced realtors. That's not what we're saying, because everybody has to get experience. Right. But what I think those of us who've been in the industry would say to inexperienced realtors is, please work with an experienced realtor.
Yes.
Don't get your pride caught up in the transaction.
To learning. Have the learner's mind and go with it, please. Because if you run into there's always that one that's going to drive you nuts. There's going to be more food later on, is what I guess some people, they're afraid that this is going to be the one and only day. No.
Well, that's right. And this one's over to Dino and Antonio, because sometimes we can be our own worst agents. Particularly, Antonio, you might be able to talk about this, because number one, realtors always like to talk about how many millions of dollars they've done in sales, and it makes people think we actually have that much money. The other thing that particularly on the residential side that we do is we're telling buyers all the time that we work for free. We do not work for free. We do not work for free for anybody. And the other thing that we do as well, Dino, have you or Antonio, have you ever heard, either one of you ever heard this one, like we sell a house in a day? I'm sorry, I have never sold a house in a day, because before that day it was on the market, I had about a month of work that I did.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good, because I think when you are, one of the things being a realtor actually teaches you is to be confident. And sometimes I think people may screw that as being cocky. It's not, it's being confident, because like you said, we have a set of ethics that we go by. We hold ourselves to very high standards. We are accountable to those around us. There's levels of transparency. So I think when you start going down that road of saying things like that, I can sell it, I'll do it in a day and things like that, I think you're doing more harm than good, simply because, just like now, and I'll just relate it to the campaign, I'm not going to give you promises that I know I can't keep. I'm not doing that. I'm just simply not doing that, just because I know what's within my power, what's within my authority. So it is with real estate. And so I think we have to be very honest with them. We can get it listed and boom, get a buyer quickly. That's fine and good. But I think we do have to be very mindful of the words that we say, and don't set up this perception just to get people in. I think that goes right back to what you were saying earlier. If you're really in real estate for just a commission check, you will not be in it long, and it will come out. My father used to say, hey, it'll come out in the wash. It really, it will come out. And I think, and I'll say this and toss it to Dino, I think with it being a seller's market for the last few years, it has drawn some people into real estate saying, hey, I can do that. Well, there's something also called a buyer's market. And there's some other nuances that we have to be mindful of, that if you're just in it, just grabbing someone, writing a contract, not really doing your duties, your fiduciary duties for that client, when the market shifts, or even when it's not, it's going to come out in the wash. It's really going to come out when you have those issues with the appraisal, when you have a tide water, whatever the case may be, it will come out. And then just simply communicating with your client. So yes, I totally agree with that. Just that there is definitely a misperception about who we are, what we do. We're caring people, we're loving people, we operate by our code of ethics, we're transparent people. Kind of similar to what I'm doing on council, to be honest. So it goes hand in hand.